Hello, Franklin. Hello, Franklin.
Hi, Robbie. How are you doing? Can you hear
Good.
me? Oh, good, good.
Your picture's real still, right?
Yeah, it's still not working there. There we go.
Okay, now you're normal.
I don't know about that. I don't think I'm Abby normal.
Yeah,
How's your radio station going?
oh, just fine. I finally fixed one of the bad tubes in it because it quit the other day.
Oh no.
Yeah, one of the big tubes in the power supply quit, so I put a new one in it. It works fine now. I've had it on the air about every day now. So
Oh, that's great. I'll have to check it out. Where was it? It was like 5 what?
I'm on 620 now.
20. That used to be KGW, right?
Well, let's see, wait a minute. No, 640.
40.
I gotta be just a little bit above them.
No. Hi, Lyles.
Good evening, you two. How you doing?
Doing
Fantastic.
great. Well,
I'm doing fine too.
what is the subject for tonight as far as
German.
German
German.
radios.
Oh, German? Okay, I don't have any German radios.
I don't either. But
German radios sometimes have some beautiful woodwork on them. I've got a Blau Punk that's got beautiful wood on it, but it's kind of big and bulky to handle.
yeah. I like those people's radios. I think that was a neat idea. I mean, that was an idea of giving radios away to people, right?
Well, yeah, I think back during the war, they did that so that everybody could learn what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I guess there's 2 versions of that people's radio, right?
Probably more than 2.
Oh, is there? One's called they call him Gerbil Snout as a short. The one with the round speaker. And then the other one was the people's radio, right?
Well, they were all called people's radios, but there were different models.
Oh, okay.
So early on, it was AC versus DC, and then they made a universal set, but they all had the same kind of cabinet. And then later, they got little kind of squared off with a slide wheel dial, and those had electrodynamic speakers, whereas the earlier ones had those reed speakers that were obsolete, kind of like from battery sets from the 20s.
One was called Gerbil Snout, right?
Yeah, that was the classic design. And I have a couple of them here to show
Oh, cool.
after a while. Yeah.
Yeah, wait till everybody shows up there. How's Warren doing? You're muted, Warren.
Now I can say hi.
How's your hip?
Yeah.
Oh, doing great. Getting better every day.
Oh, fantastic. That's good to hear.
Yeah, up walking a mile and a half now, so
No more playing football, right?
not quite yet. The physical therapist keeps me working pretty hard though.
Oh, they call them physical torture, right? That's what PT
Yeah.
stands
I can hardly move after you leave their office,
for. Oh, yeah.
but
I've been doing that for 10 years.
necessary. That's
Fantastic.
necessary.
Yeah. I see Don's on, and so is Pat. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Howdy, Jeff.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
Hey, Robbie,
Yeah.
when are we going to get the flyers for the April show? I want to get those sent out.
Well, Sonny's supposed to be doing that now.
Yeah, but you have to send him the information.
Okay, I'll send him an email today.
Okay, sounds good.
I need to take some up to the Mike and Key, too.
Oh, yeah, we gotta get those. Oh crap, how are you gonna get them? Because the next time we meet's the same day you go up for the mic and key.
Yeah, we should have them all ready to go by the next meeting. You know,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we have to have them printed too. So who's gonna print them?
I don't know.
I can always print them. I mean, if you know, it'll cost me, but usually doesn't Brian Toon print the stuff?
Yeah, but he would print them, but then how are you gonna get it from him?
Yeah, if he sends me the thing, I can print some of them up. So just have Sunny send me a file, or you'll send me the file, right?
Well, I'll have to get it from, yeah, I'll have to get it from Sonny after they give him the information.
Mhm.
When's the folding party?
It was yesterday.
Oh, that's right. Dang it. Forgot
No,
about that.
We changed the date on it. Yeah. It was last night.
Oh, there's that Gerbil snout.
Yeah, so this one was the early version. This was DC only, and they only had 2 tubes. It's a regen kind of circuit, and so it has an audio, and it just has an RF. You know, it's TRF. It's not heterodyne or anything, not superhet or anything. And then the dial just has like 0 to 100 on it, kind of like an old battery set or something.
Is it limited to certain stations?
Well, they had 2 bands. There was long wave and AM, kind of like, you know, Europe. And then on the side here, they have all these jacks, and those were just like for different antenna connections. So if you had a longer wire, you'd use one of them, and a shorter wire, you'd use a different one, and such. But they sold for 76 marks in 1933, which is where the number comes from. So VE301 is a reference to January 1933 when Hitler took over. So that's where the number comes from. Of course, VE means Volts Empfänger, which is people's radio, like VW means people's car.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
I have another one here. I'll bring in a second.
Is that a Bakelite case?
Yeah, and they all look the same. Even though there was like 10 different manufacturers or something, the only difference is like there's a little data plate on the back here at the very bottom. You might be able to see which has the manufacturer on it, and the cardboard might also. Yeah, you can see right there. It says Mende, M-E-N-D-E, which is a manufacturer in Dresden at the time. But yeah, let me get the other one, because the other one has the back off of it, and you can see this one has 3 tubes. It's the universal. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is the DC one. So this has 2 tubes, no rectifier, and then the other one is universal. So they add a rectifier, so you can run it off of AC mains as well.
Is there a battery inside, or is there a battery hookup on the outside for the?
No batteries. You had to plug it in. So this is the German, plug style, which somebody's filed to fit into a different kind of a socket or something. But the DC only one was the cheapest one because it only had 2 tubes and didn't have a rectifier. And they used they accommodated different voltages by having a tapped resistor, basically, and you set the taps on the resistor. So none of them had power transformers, even when they were AC/DC. So anyway, I'll get the other one because the back's off of it, and you can see the tubes.
Hey Jake, how you doing? I see Jake's here. Ray, Jim, Christian. Hey Cliff.
Good evening.
This is Jim. I'm here listening in. As usual, I'll keep my mouth shut most of the time. But
Speak up anytime you want, that's for sure. You're welcome.
So yeah, you can see the horseshoe magnet and the reed speaker and the 3 tubes that are in here. And this is
Oh, wow.
an interstage transformer. It's not a power transformer. And then you had to set up the voltages over here. Just has a single capacitor. I mean, it's a TRF, but it has a regen in the in the only radio frequency stage that it had. But they're interesting. I think this one was also made by Mende, and you can see the eagle over the top of the tuning dial there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The cabinet looks nice.
Yeah, these are in pretty nice shape.
Did you do any work on the cabinet?
No, this is the way I got them, and it's really thin, so it would be real easy to break. And they're kind of a weird aspect ratio. See, they're not really very deep because they got that big speaker, but they look top heavy mostly.
Yeah. Speaker's heavier than the whole box.
Yeah.
There's no swastika on it?
I'm sorry.
No swastika on this one?
No swastikas, no, and no places where they were ground off.
Yeah,
I've
sometimes
heard-
off, right?
I've heard about that, yeah, but there's no evidence that these had them. The eagle is as close as we get, which was
This
like
is-
the socialist.
this is
Okay.
Jim. Question: what is the frequency range of that radio? Do you know when it was manufactured? And
Well-
I would say it probably was used in East Germany or even in Russia, because the only reason a person would have to file down those prongs is to make them fit the Russian and East European standard for sockets. The German plugs, modern plugs, look similar, but they don't work in Eastern Europe because the prongs are thicker in the modern plugs. And I don't
Oh,
know if
right,
those
right.
same plugs that were in use before World War II.
Yeah, so these they had long wave and pretty much the standard broadcast band. There was no shortwave. And the universal one here was made from 1935 to 1938. In 38, they replaced them with the squat ones with the linear dial. And it's called a VE301 DYN, which refers to the dynamic speaker as opposed to these reed type speaker with the horseshoe magnet thing, which looks like something from the 20s. But they were made, cost was the big thing, was the most important thing, and all the different manufacturers made them for the same design, identical designs, and they were made, by the millions, I'm sure. Rumor has it that we tried to destroy them all after the war, but there were so many made that wasn't possible.
How do they sound?
I haven't really fired them up. I'm kind of scared. They have a couple of electrolytics in them, and I don't want to do any damage, I guess.
They have very large speakers for the very large, big mouth that was making speeches over them.
Yeah, well, it was a major thing in terms of the country because everybody, radio was a new thing, and so it was kind of like the Fireside Chats, but in a negative sort of way. And that was why they made them so cheap, was so that everybody could listen to them, and hear the message from the Führer.
Furious fear.
It's interesting. This is Jim again. In Russia, they took a different solution. They wired up all the houses there, so you didn't actually have a radio. You had something you plugged into the wall, and then you listened only to what was provided by the government.
Hey, Myron, on those German Bakelite sets, did you see what the power supply was? Is it like a 6-volt battery?
No, they all ran on the line, and as I say, of the two I had, one of them was DC only, the cheapest one. And then it only had 2 tubes. And then the later one was called Universal, and it had a rectifier as an additional tube. So they weren't run on batteries at all, as far as I can tell. I mean, they were 110 or 200 volts, 220, whatever, with taps on the back of them to choose. But none of them even had power transformers. They always just used resistors to pull down the line voltage to what they needed. So this is, your classic post-war German export, and and it's called with the piano keys, AM, FM, typically with a tuning eye here. And this is happens to be a Telefunken one here, but they were made by any number of manufacturers, and they just about all look the same. Some of them were bigger. They had the wood case and the plastic front, and they were very good sounding because they had negative feedback in the audio systems, which Americans didn't really do. And one of the interesting things is if you have a radio that was actually made for Germany, the FM will stop at 100 megahertz instead of going all the way to 106. The other thing that's interesting is there's actually 2 tuning dials, one for AM and one for FM. So you could leave your FM station in one place and your AM station in a different place and use the piano buttons to pick between AM and FM without moving the tuning dial. So these were made by the millions, and the guys brought them home from Europe. And when you worked in Germany for the army, then they would move you back to the US for free, right? And so you see a lot of these giant consoles that were bought at the PX and then shipped it at cost. The military paid for all your moving costs. So you see a lot of those that people brought back from the war because they were cheap and it didn't cost them anything to have them shipped back. Similar though, they had the piano keys, ivory accents, and tuning dials. I-tube style tuning indicators. Sometimes they had tape recorders and turntables, the really biggest ones, and they sold a lot of them. So that's my German radios.
It's really nice looking. It's got a nice finish on it.
Those big radios were a prime status symbol of the Wirtschaftswunder. The Germans said, we're back. We can buy big radios. And the Germans like big things.
Yeah, and stuff was so cheap because we had fixed the exchange rate really low for Germany and Japan, and so we got the advantage of all these imports for low cost until Nixon took us off the gold standard in '72.
I had a question about my neighbor's got about the biggest tabletop Grundig radio I ever saw. I brought it from Germany, but the dial glass is busted. And has anybody had any kind of luck finding replacements for German radios that are that old?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is you have to pretty much find a parts set or something because there were so many variations of them. Every manufacturer put their name in that glass. And so a Grundig was different than a Telefunken, even though they might fit in the same, positions and everything. It was just one of their major value adds was they had all these glass dials that they printed. Yeah. Similarly, they all used similar kind of transformers, but the transformers came in like 20 different sizes because they were all optimized for exactly the set that they went into. So one time when somebody was looking for a transformer and I was like, well, I got a few. I was like, no, it turns out they're all different sizes of them.
The thing is quite large and it's a big piece of glass and it's in pieces. They wanted me to help him get it going again, but I said, I don't know, that's irreplaceable, basically, the glass part of it.
I mean, they're painted,
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it even. I don't even think it was silkscreen. It was some other technique. But it's funny that all the manufacturers made things that look similar, and they used the similar kinds of designs. They use similar kinds of parts like that glass dial and transformers. And they had little ferrite antennas that sometimes would have a dial on the front that would turn the ferrite antenna. So it'd have a little string that went to a little pulley that would turn that thing and change the direction to give you the best reception on AM. They're all quite similar.
And then under the chassis, they tended to bury parts very deep. Really hard to get at some of the parts.
Yeah, they used a lot of different kind of terminal strips than what we used in the US, and but they had higher quality parts. So that was one good thing about it.
Well, all those band switches and stuff, they were always a pain in the butt. They'd get dirty and noisy and you'd have to try and clean them.
It's a lot like the transoceanic button,
Yeah.
you know, things. They're just open chunks of metal with things pushing on them.
How do you clean them?
Well, usually with the tuner cleaner. What is it? I use the
The CRC contact cleaner?
R5.
Sometimes you can't get access to those keys though.
The deoxit.
All right.
One thing about that deoxit I ran into recently was some of the early volume controls, they painted carbon on, I don't know what kind of paper strips or something that went around inside the volume control. Instead of the volume control surface being flat, it went around the perimeter of the volume control can.
Oh, yeah.
And when you spray that with deoxit, it just dissolves the carbon and it all just comes off. So there's another kind of deoxit which has a different, you know, chemical composition, which works, it lubricates, but it doesn't dissolve that stuff. And so I recently ruined the volume control with that. I was like, uh-oh. So apparently 1940 or so was the changeover where they printed it on a flat surface and had the wiper go across the flat surface. That's okay with the deoxit, but the stuff that goes around the outside of the can, it's just carbon, you know, I don't know if they just sprayed it on there or something, but the deoxit just takes it off. It just dissolves it. It's like, it's like brake fluid cleaner on your, or brake fluid on your car paint or something.
Yeah.
So one thing about these little sets like this little Telefunken table radios, they always had transformers and they always had, you know, jumpers that you could set for the different voltages. Whereas in the United States, we weren't building radios with transformers anymore at that point.
Not the small ones anyway. Yeah.
Exactly.
Even some of the consoles were AA5s.
Because we had the advantage of a unified market, whereas, you know, the Europeans had to sell to Europe and America and, you know, all the different places around the world. We weren't worried about selling to Europe.
Yeah, I've got a German radio. I kind of thought about it, and I don't think I have anything other than this one. This is just got this one not too long ago. It's a Blaupunk car radio. So I think that's about the extent for me for my, you know, for German radios.
Has that got an FM band or a shortwave band on it?
It's got M at the top, then it's got AM, and then it's got FM. And that's it. I
Yeah.
don't know much about it.
Is that the Porsche radio?
Myron, it's got a green dial.
If it has a green dial, then it's a Porsche radio.
Okay, but
And-
there's no indication on it if it's 6 volt or 12 volt.
They were convertible either way, and that little thing in the back there that hangs down, don't you have an external chassis that goes with it?
Well, this is all I got.
Oh, well, there's another piece, I think.
Uh-oh.
You see
Missing
those arms, those had a separate external mounted power supply, I think. Some of them did, some of them didn't, but since it has the arms, I think it should have had the power supply. They built hybrid radios where they had transistors for the output stages and tubes for everything else. And they had a transistor that made the high voltage from the 6 volts with a solid state inverter circuit that ran at, like 10 kilohertz or something.
I'll be darned.
And that was in the auxiliary box that I think this radio would have had with it. Is there like a place where you can plug in? Because the auxiliary box plugged into the main with a little DIN connector with like 6 or 7 pins. And so it would have been, yeah, there it is. And that's where it plugs in and gives you the high voltage and the audio out.
Oh,
So-
crap.
And that's
Yeah,
what, Myron,
yes.
so that should be pretty valuable.
They've gotten to be pretty valuable. There's a few people who, make their livings taking care of them and getting them all spiffed up for the Porsche crowd. Now that Porsches have gone, through the roof.
Put electric motors in them. They put
Electric
Tesla,
what?
Tesla motors and Tesla drivetrains. Tesla back.
Well, those cars that sank in the ship last week, some of those Porsches were like $170,000.
I was just gonna say they just made 1,000 amphibious models. And 200 Bentleys went down too.
Yeah.
Ow, ouch.
Hey, Myron, this radio has a plug on the side. What does this thing go to?
Oh, that's what hooks into the power supply stuff.
Oh, this thing right here?
No, that's just a DIN audio. Oh, wait. Well, what's on the end of the cord you've got there? That goes back into the radio? I mean, that just, yeah. So that plugs into the power pack on the audio output that you seem to be missing.
Oh,
And then that other plug there, that female one that's on the set, is where you could just plug in like a tape deck or something like that. It was a DIN standard accessory plug-in. But it definitely converts either 6 or 12 volts. I think that the convert might be underneath that little tab on the side there or someplace. Maybe you have to open it up and there's like a plastic jumper that you pick up and put back down in a different place because they were all convertible 6 or 12 volts.
oh, okay. But darn, if I'm missing it, it's not worth much because it's missing the whatever I'm missing.
Yeah, well, it fit in it hung from those little brackets in the back.
Oh,
Yeah,
crap.
between those two guys.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's going to be fun, fun trying to find the missing
Yeah.
piece.
Well, somebody who works on them could use it for parts.
What's
for sure.
like the name? So it's really the green dial, right? Or is it different?
Well, the green dials were specifically made for Porsche, and then the white dials went in all the other cars like Mercedes and I don't know who else, BMW, whoever they provided them for. This is about I don't know, early 60s set, like 62 or something like that, probably. It has the label on the side of it that'll tell you that. There's like a 6 or 7 digit number, and then it probably says TR Deluxe or something like that.
Yeah, Frankfurt TR Deluxe US.
Right. So the reason it says TR is because it was the hybrid for the audio output and the power supply. Yep. And
So it would have
so,
been 11, like a 63911.
yeah, or well, there were no 63 911s, but it was been a 356. Yeah.
Hmm.
911s, the earliest ones were 65.
Oh, I thought they brought them out in 63, but
They sold 356s through 64, 65 model years, and 65 there was some 911s and 912s, just a few. But 66 was the first real big year that there were no 356s and only 911s and 912s.
So Myron, you're the expert at this. How many of those have you had owned?
I guess I've lost count, but I still have 2 around here.
Is that right?
A 60 356 Carmen notchback, and she's saying 3. Okay,
His wife is saying 3.
she's saying 3. Okay, and a 67 912, and then the real jewel of them all, which needs a lot of work, is a 56 356, and they only made 2,500 cars that year.
Wow. Nice.
But it's, not in very good shape, but apparently a VIN number is worth about, $15,000.
Okay.
just the number.
so Gary, are you ready to show yours?
Oh, yeah, sure. So you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So these are portables. And just like the, let me turn this around. Just like the tabletop sets and the bigger sets, these portables are also very similar from make to make. This one happens to be a Telefunken. And this one's not in very good shape. I had to put these brackets on there because it was missing the handle that normally goes between these 2 side mounts. But basically it's a kind of a square box with a big speaker here and all kinds of bands and the ubiquitous piano key band switching, separate AM and FM tuning knobs. This one's fairly modern. It's got 6 D cells for a power supply, so it's battery operated. Works great. Extendable antenna, bass and treble controls. And you'll find Grundigs and I don't know, there's probably 3 or 4 other makes that all kind of look the same. And the interesting thing is that I think these were designed to plug into a car and become a car radio. There's a battery, there's an antenna and a power supply connection on the back. And so you could plug this thing in underneath the dashboard and then drive around with this as the car radio. The speaker comes out the bottom, so it plays pretty loud. And you've probably seen these in a number of places. They're fairly common, but they make very nice portable radios. Work pretty good. And then the other one I've got is, once again, one of these large Telefunken German radios. This one's fairly big. It's got 2 big, large, I don't know, 8-inch speakers on it. And this thing plays loud and has really good high fidelity sound. But it's just like he described with the separate AM and FM tuning knobs. It's got the antenna positioning knob over here, which tunes the loop stick antenna inside, so you can actually null out stations and maximize the reception for AM. I love these things. I fell in love with one when I first saw it back in my 7th grade elementary school classroom back in the late 60s. And it was playing Hot Fun in the summertime, and the sound was so awesome. I'd never heard anything like it. And I said, I want to get one of those. It took a long time, but I finally got this particular one. And I've been carrying it around with me ever since 1977 or so. It needs some cabinet work. It's missing this piece here, unfortunately.
They are great sounding desktops, most of those radios like that from Germany.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's got some of the best hi-fi sound, almost as good as my stereo, except it's not, it's mono.
And it has the little tuning eye there next to the left
Oh, yeah.
dial.
This little green tuning eye. Not quite as bright as it could be. And I've tried replacing it, but for some reason it's hard to find the particular tube. It's a kind of a cat's eye. It opens up like that.
It's an EM34, I think.
I think so. Yeah. And I've actually found some at swap meets and put them in, and they're still not very bright. So I don't know what the story is on it. The voltages are all good. Just doesn't shine as bright as, for instance, this cat's eye tube over here. This one's very nice. It's got a good bright image.
I think it's interesting that the Europeans were still using iTubes long after the Americans had done, quit doing it. You see them sometimes on tape recorders too.
Yep. So I really always impressed with the German radios. The components are very high quality inside. They use really good quality resistors, capacitors, transformers. They reduce the tube count, I think, by putting multiple elements inside each tube, so that you get, for instance, a detector and an audio amplifier in one tube. So a little more high class than the typical All-American 5 radios.
Well, like I say, one of the major things was that they use negative feedback. They take the output transformer actually has another winding or something in audio, which they bring back and feed back in, which helps the fidelity quite a lot. But invariably, they do that. It was just what they did. You never see it in American radios.
So I've fixed up a couple of more of these Telefunken big box radios for other people, and gotten pretty good at working on them. I know a lot of people don't like to work on those German sets, but I don't mind it. It's a good challenge.
Yeah, they're a different challenge, that's for sure. Yeah.
So that's my German radio contribution for the show and tell tonight. Anybody else got something?
Sure. Let's see here, what the heck?
Looks like John's got something right there.
Yeah, it's a Grundig. Let me get it. Trying to get it focused here.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
Nice.
Nice little Grundig model 97, model 97 Majestic. It's got the typical buttons and same layout, and a tuning eye right here behind the glass right there. And it's all white case. It kind of has a yellow patina on it, I think, from age.
Maybe somebody was smoking when they had that.
Yeah, there it is.
I think their
Probably,
slogan
yeah.
was "Mighty Monarch of the Air."
Yeah, it's Grundig Majestic. They got written on the back here. Yeah, it works. It plays.
Yeah, Majestic used to use that slogan.
Yeah.
How far up does the FM band go?
Let me take a look. It's got AM, FM, and one short wave band. It's got the full American FM band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although it's right to left instead of, right to left instead of left to right.
Yeah, it's got the American plug on it and everything. So it was made for export market.
Yeah, it's a interesting thing about that right to left business. Let me show you this little portable one more time here. Let me see if I can get that going. Yeah, okay, so Um, the FM band here has 88 down here and 108 at this end, but the AM band starts over here at 530 and goes this way
Yeah.
up to 1600. Go figure. On this set over here, this one was a American export version, I'm sure, but once again, sort of a backward sense for the AM band. And then the FM band is, it's 88 here and 90 or 108 here. A little reversed. And then you have to translate from wavelengths to frequency for the shortwave band. It's all marked in meters. And then the place names for various stations are etched into the paint on the glass dial. So as far as fixing the glass dial on that one, I don't know what you can do other than try to piece back the pieces of glass together as best you can and use super glue.
I noticed this dial has the civil defense markers on it.
Oh yeah, does it? Oh yeah, look at that.
I don't think I've ever seen that before on a German radio.
Right. Probably an American requirement for them to sell it here. It says made in Western Germany, but it's definitely for the American market.
Well, thanks, Don, for showing us your radio, and thanks, Gary, for adding to it.
Sure. I noticed that mine's got the civil defense symbols too. I never really looked.
I'll have to look at some of my sets. I don't think I've ever noticed it, but I think you're right. It was a requirement.
Yeah, this one even has it on the AM band. They're hard to see, but they're in there.
That was until 64, right, or 63, 62, something like that.
Well, I'm sure they wanted it in 63 or so, because that's about time to keep a missile crisis. I'm sure they didn't drop that too much later.
So they had car radios with shortwave on some of them, didn't they? I recall some German radio with AM, FM, and shortwave.
Long wave too.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Long wave broadcast was used a lot in Europe.
Do they broadcast it shortwave? Like I was talking to a guy about Brazil. He said Brazil broadcasts in shortwave commercial radios. Do you guys think about that?
Wow.
Well, the US did too early on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anyway, here's mine.
Not specifically, but I mean, a lot of places that didn't have the built-up infrastructure to use shortwave to cover their countries and stuff. Like in Africa, for example.
Yeah. Anyway, I've got a little yacht boy here, that's a nice little radio.
This movie and then see it realized on the screen. I wrote the movie before.
Turn off. But it's a lot newer.
Like the one that we're talking about fixing up on the email forum.
I don't recall that.
Bruce, where's that made? Where's your radio made, Bruce?
Germany. Yeah, it's a Grundig yacht boy.
Yeah, but look in the back and make sure it's probably made in China. If it's newer, it's China.
It's not that new.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell me China.
The earliest ones were made in Europe, and then they transferred it over to Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah, this must be early enough.
I did just verify the Conrad system went from 1953 to 1961, I believe. I'm sorry, 63, 51 to 63 when it was replaced. So any radio that was, in theory, sold in America had to have the two diamonds or the two marks.
Okay.
51 and 1963.
It ended in 63, 51 to 63.
Okay.
And it was all about the switching, the Conrad thing for switching for the Soviet bombers. So they couldn't zero in on us, right? By the time 63 came around, there was better technology out there and they didn't need us anymore.
Yeah. Hey, Cliff?
Yeah.
Yeah, your Atwater Kent question. I don't have one old enough, but I ran into stuff that I had, and it's the Atwater Kent Park list, and mine stops about just before your up to model 35 and a 50, but it lists all the parts and shows the pictorial where they go in the rigs and stuff like that. And I was just thinking if you could find a little bit later, somebody has a little bit later Atwater Kent parts list, might be able to find your answer about the variations of your model 46.
I've tried that. I do have a couple of flavors of that should have spanned that era. And it's really not documented very well. The 46 was such a short-lived item because the 55 came out the same year.
Okay.
And that sort of took over everybody. And the 46 failed a lot. You lose a interstage transformer like you can in all those early Atwater Kents. You lose an interstage transformer and the outputs become diodes. And they turn on full. And when they put 71 tubes in there, they drew enough current that they'd take out other devices. They'd overheat the tar. They'd do a whole lot of other damage to the radios. So 46 was not a popular radio by any means. But it does appear there were a couple versions. That's what I was hoping to find. But even the Atwater Kent documentation doesn't show, as an example of the resistor values that I've seen in 3 radios now. Obviously, that was the impedance or the resistance they planned on, but it doesn't show up in any of the Atwater Kent documentation. The latter stuff is what shows up in the documentation.
So we're talking nearly 100 years old here, but
we are.
Did they actually fail fairly early?
Well, I don't know that for certain. We do know that there are a lot of old radios that you pick up that you see repair memos from 1935 and 1938 type of thing where they've replaced transformers.
Oh, okay.
In radios, so they were failing fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's why I'm chasing it. I was absolutely curious because you don't want to necessarily change the resistors to what's in the books. First you thought, oh, okay, they just went up in value, and then all of a sudden you say, hey, wait a minute, this one's just like it, and it's got exactly the same value. Did these two resistors, these two radios track upwards and impedance on the resistance? That didn't make any sense. And as I dig deeper and deeper, I'm seeing that there was apparently an earlier version. And, that's what I was hoping to find documentation for.
Might have to find somebody that can engineer a solution for it.
Oh, I can fix it. I can make it work. That isn't quite the question. It's just that once in a while we have a tendency to get into that habit of repairing radios where you just go to the schematic and say, oh, this resistor is out of tolerance. Let me replace it. And that will get you into trouble in this particular case.
Did those Atwater Kent resistors drift? Because they're different construction than what we're used to, right?
They hardly ever did.
That's what I thought.
But what it was happening was throughout Atwater Kent's models, there's usually 5 or 6 or 7 different sub versions of every model because they were constantly doing changes in the factory. And that's what happened in this case is even the resistors themselves clipped in like fuses. And in theory, they were still experimenting. They'd ship it out and they'd say, okay, that's the model we're sending out. And then later on, they'd ship out other resistors to go along with it, or, you know, to replace them out to the dealers.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, I was hoping that somebody might see any further documentation that I haven't got. I was hoping there'd be something out there. And that's about as far from Germany as you can get.
I'm gonna be over, or I'm gonna be on the plane next Wednesday on the way over, so I'll miss a couple Zoom meetings anyway.
Well, don't fly over Ukraine.
No, we're not
From
going that
Hawaii
direction.
to Los Angeles. Where are you flying into?
Oh, direct to Portland from Kona.
Oh.
Alaska flies direct this time of year, so things have calmed down, and I've got enough miles to almost fly for free, except I had to upgrade. Except that they sell you your miles, but then you find out that there's only upgraded seats available. So I had to buy one upgraded seat on the way back. So, but that's still pretty cheap flying round trip, and it's like I say, it's nonstop from Kona to Portland, so and back, which makes it nice.
You don't have to stop at Midway and go the other way.
No, Midway's too far, is too far away.
Yeah.
I go Hawaiian, they hub through either Honolulu or Maui, which is not that bad, but it's just, like I say, Alaska will fly direct this time of year anyway. They don't do it year round. That they do to Seattle, but the Portland, over half the year they'll fly direct routes back and forth to Kona, so it makes it nice.
Oh yeah.
I'll be up in Warren. Warren, I'll be up in your area. I'm gonna go up to visit my sister Friday night. Whatever, next Friday, not this Friday, but the following Friday. So maybe if you're around, maybe I'll catch you or something like that. If you want to drop in.
Yeah.
Any chance you'll be able to make the meeting on the 12th?
I'm gonna go to Puyallup.
What was that?
I'm going up to Mike and Key at Puyallup.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to go up to my sister lives up in Seattle, and I'll overnight, and then I'll go back to and stop at Puyallup on the way back Saturday morning, and I'll be back down in the Portland area after that. But so I'll miss. I'm just going to be over for a week.
Yeah, I think for next year, we want to maybe change our March meeting so we don't conflict with the Mike and Key show. So I think we should plan for that in 2023. What do you guys think?
I've heard of Mike and Key show, so I don't know what I'd be missing.
Well, it's just so that we can get, our club members to be able to attend both, because we conflict every year.
Yeah.
I thought Franklin wanted to do a first Saturday.
Yep.
Well, we could, but the trouble is it's too late to plan that now, because, when we thought about this, like I said, we took a vote and thought about it, and most people decided, well, we'll just go ahead and keep it the way it is.
It's always been a conflict for, the last 30 years or whatever. So.
Yeah.
Well, you got first Saturdays apparently available.
Well, we got basically a year to plan for. I think we should think about it, maybe put it in action so that, we get the word out. I just don't know what people would want to do. Would we want to meet the Saturday before, the Saturday after?
Whichever one's available, but I think
And I don't know how many members. I mean, obviously I'm a ham. That's why I'm going up to Puyallup. but I don't know how many, and I know there's a fair number of hams in the club that go up there, but not everybody, so I don't know.
I know, but the problem is Franklin's going and other key members are going. That's the problem. It's not that the whole club wants to go. It's just the key.
Yeah, we don't have anyone to take minutes and we don't have anyone to man the welcome table or the
Or the
Zoom
Zoom.
meeting.
I just think you just make a decision, and if it's a year ahead, I'm sure somebody can probably make plans.
And then we all should go up to the Mike and Key, right?
Franklin's driving.
Up there, I'll be driving. Get
He'll
the
be
bus.
driving the bus,
Well,
and he's paying for the hotel room too,
Yeah, everybody grab a hotel room. We'll just
and the
well,
banquet.
when you guys go up to Mike and Key, is it a one-day event or do you guys stay overnight?
Well, it's a 1-day event, but it's it's a pretty fair drive up there for.
Boy, you're gonna be burned out.
Yeah.
It's a
Yes,
long day, a long drive up. You're gonna get burned out from walking around, standing and doing whatever,
Yeah.
and then you gotta drive back.
It's about twice the size of Rick Rial's swap meet. It's the largest swap meet in the Northwest, and I mean it's mainly not mainly it's gear, ham gear, but you do of course find small radio, some old antique radios there too and stuff like that, but primarily big ham swap meet.
Well, what's the difference between that and PSARA? Because in August, we drive up in the morning and drive back in the afternoon.
You might not be walking around as much.
I guess right. It's the whole convention center thing.
Yeah, it's two floors.
And then you won't be driving. I thought you guys are gonna get a shuttle van or a driver.
No, that's for the Parks Museum that we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's for the museum tour.
Yeah, your museum thing, you would not want to do that in one day. I don't think.
I don't think we can hire somebody to do it one day if they drive, right? I mean, they wouldn't want to go up there.
I mean, it's a lot further drive to go in the POL. It's like twice the distance. So, you want to do an overnight or something, or a couple of days probably.
Too bad there isn't a Sounder light rail or something you could take.
Well, there is I think the Amtrak goes up there. The Bellingham.
How far would you have to go up to get on?
Well, Bellingham's almost up to the Canadian border.
Right.
Yeah, nearly so. It's what, half an hour away or an hour away from the Canadian border. So it's, I mean, look, going to Seattle's what, 3 hours from Portland?
It's
roughly?
it's a 5-hour drive.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to be, and that's assuming you don't have traffic issues.
Yeah, Seattle without traffic.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't happen.
I gotta duck out and feed the pooches here for a second. So I'll be back shortly.
So, hey, you guys, for the Mike and Key show, is it something that they would have like radio, like basically broadcast radios for sale?
What I'm gonna do is have Franklin, I'm gonna send him a little bit of a list, and then I'll contact him when he's up there to see what he sees. So maybe you can do that too, because he can send you back pictures and stuff like that on text pictures or emails.
Well, for the other members that actually been up there before, are there any like broadcast radios for sale, or is it just strictly ham stuff?
From what I've been told, there is broadcast radios too, but of course they're mixed in with a lot of ham stuff. There's just so much stuff there. It's just from what I hear. I haven't been there yet, so.
Oh.
And I'm gonna meet some of the PSA guys, and they're gonna bring some stuff. So, and that might be a good connection. What do you think about having a combined swap meet with PSA?
That's on our agenda. That's going to come out this week for March. That's one of the bullet items we have to talk about. We have to see about if we want to have the picnic, the summer picnic with PSARA, because from what Julia said, their gig up in Shoreline is on. So they're not going to meet with us in Chehalis in August.
Oh. Yeah, I think that would always be good. I mean, the more the merrier, right?
Well, I'm just thinking instead of having the picnic at the Abernathy Grange, we could just meet up at Fletcher Anderson's place and do a swap meet, barbecue up there.
That sounds like that'd be fun.
Where is Fletcher?
Chehalis.
Yeah, Chehalis, it's a nice halfway point.
To get
Well,
gas.
I think it's about an hour drive.
It's about an hour and a half from Seattle. That's when I first met all you guys last August.
Oh, that's right. That was a neat show. I really enjoyed it. And Pat sure did. He got a lot of radios there. How many radios did you get, Pat?
I forgot. I don't know. 20?
At least 20, right?
Yeah.
You were buying them by a 4 for 10 or something like that. 4 for 20.
Yeah, only from the one guy, but yeah, I was buying a lot of stuff. It was fun. So, plastic radios are still pretty cheap now, but maybe there'll be a day when they're all expensive.
Oh, on the email, somebody put up a picture of a young lady looking at a television set with a bunch of plastic radios on top. And everybody was commenting about what was on the TV set, and nobody was saying anything about the plastic radios. So I made fun of the fact that nobody was talking about that, but I mentioned Franklin, and I should have said Pat. Pat's the
Pat did make a comment.
My mistake.
That was late. There's only one there's only one that was pretty distinguishable. Other than that, the other, it wasn't good enough picture, I don't think, right, Pat?
Well, yeah, no, somebody chimed in. We got another email that identified one of these other ones as another GE. Let me look.
Yeah, that was a fun picture.
I knew it was a TR3 though. That's a wide mouth one there. So,
Oh, yeah.
And then the 60 Impala that somebody else put up.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious there. That was an easy one there. The only one with the tail light, with the 3 lights, with the rear reverse lights, and where the brake light should be.
Yeah, the Alan Wetzel said that one of those other plastic radios was a GE, so he sent me a picture of one, and yep, that's it. But I don't know about the third one.
Need a better picture, huh?
Yeah, I think it's an airline, but I'm not sure. It's just so fuzzy.
Robbie, you want to tell us about the tube you changed in your broadcast?
About the what now? Excuse me.
Didn't you have to replace the tube? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it took me a couple minutes to find it, but it's a 6080. It's a dual diode tube. It's in the power supply, and it creates
right?
310 volts off that tube. And
oh yeah.
And it's about 4 inches tall and 1.5 inches wide, and it's a big tube, and boy, it gets hot. So, but it lasted about 1.5 years and it burned out, but I still have a spare I use. So, but yeah, it like I say, it's a pretty high performance tube, and they're not really expensive, but I think they're running now. When I bought it, it only cost me $5, but now they're running probably about $20 now.
Do you need another one?
I might.
You should.
Do you have one?
Well, Franklin's going to that Mike and Key, and there's somebody there that's going to have probably over 5,000 tubes. So they might have it in there.
Is Mike Miller gonna be there?
This woman's name's Linda. She's part of the Seattle radio club, and she's bringing a lot of tubes.
Well,
And if Mike Miller goes there, of course, he probably does go there for the tubes, I would assume.
yeah, he'll buy them all out.
Maybe if she gets the proper offer.
Yeah, because he likes to buy everybody out. Yeah, I could use another tube, 60, 80.
I've
Well,
got,
that's
I've got
as good as
some,
no it's going.
I've got some, Robbie.
Oh,
You're gonna have one.
okay. You're shorter distance.
I'll have to dig it out of the attic though. I don't think I have them down here in the basement.
Okay, yeah, I'll take you on then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they use the 60, 80. It's a lot in the Tektronix scopes for power
Okay.
supply regulators.
This is a power supply, and it's a dual diode thing. It's right in the power supply itself. So, but it puts out 310 volts for the plates on it feeds the voltage into my controller, my gates controller, and that's what runs all the tubes in the controller. Plus, it's got a 6 volt for the filaments too. So this power supply has a dual output. So
You think it only lasts a year, Robbie?
yeah, I was surprised. I thought it was going to last a lot longer. But all the other tubes been in there a lot longer. So, but boy, it runs hot. I mean, when you look at it, it looks like it's just going to burn itself to pieces inside. It's just red inside.
Are the
Well,
plates?
that sounds like it
themselves
needs
red?
a
It's
plate
got,
resistor.
it's got dual plates in it.
But are the plates actually red?
No, the filaments, it's got real large filaments in it.
Yeah.
And they're right next to the plate, so it looks like the plates are glowing
Okay.
red.
Yeah, I don't remember what the amperage into that filament is, but it's pretty high.
I think it's 5 or 6 amps, something like that.
Oh, I don't think it's quite that high.
Be fun to mount one of those on a desk ornament and use it as a lamp and a heater.
Yeah. One guy, friend of mine, what he did is, those fiber optic cables that the company has where they throw out pieces of them for scrap. Well, I got about a 2-foot section of it, and I put this cable into this lamp, and I put one of the lights underneath of it, and you'll be it's amazing with those LED. I mean, not LED, but those things just light up really pretty with a light under them.
Yeah, the filament's 2.5 amps.
Oh, 2 amps? Okay.
2.5.
But they're real tall. The tube's almost 4 inches tall. So you got real long filaments in that thing.
What equipment are you putting that in, Robbie? A Gates controller?
I got a Gates power supply that puts out 310 volts for the plates and then 6 volts for the tubes, which goes into my controller.
That for a transmitter?
Oh, this is a 8 knob controller. It has 8 different channels in it. That
You mean like a radio station mixer panel?
It's a mixer. That's what it is. Yeah, so it operates my 2 turntables. It operates my 2 tape recorders. And there's a auxiliary
You got
section.
broadcast studio.
Yeah, it's I've been on the air here for the last month or so. Yeah, playing music, but I'm only running less than a half a watt, so it only just gets around the neighborhood. My neighbors, they like it real well. They says it's better than listening to some of that other junk music that they hear on the radio.
Hey, you'd have to show us pictures of your studio sometime.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll take a picture of it tonight and send out an email to show you what it is.
Sure
Robbie,
thing.
what frequency are you on?
I'm on 640 now.
Okay. Let me write that down.
Yeah.
Anybody else have German radios that we want to show? Do you want to see some the ultimate transistor auction? We can some of those.
I have a photo of a German radio that I would like to share if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, shoot.
There was a really wild German console that had a TV and radio integrated and this big cabinet that had this flaring. It was really cool. I don't know where I'd find it on my computer though.
Who had it?
It was a German radio. I don't know. I don't remember who made it.
But it's kind of a one of those horizontal consoles type things.
No, no, it was part of the cabinet flared way up in the air. You had maybe a flat area that had the radio and then the TV, and then the cabinet flared up into the, it was really kind of space age looking.
Oh, kind of like from the 50s.
Yeah.
I can't make it work.
You hit the share screen button.
Yeah, then it wants me to do something like change my settings or something, and it takes me to a screen that doesn't work. I don't know. Great.
Okay, we'll give you 5 more minutes.
No, I'm done. I can't make it work.
Can't make it work. Usually you have to hit screen. I'll broadcast this auction. You guys, we can just scan through here. There's a ton of radios. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, those Mickey Mouse radios, huh?
Radios. A neat little Panasonic Traveler. And then they got M&Ms.
I've never seen a lot of these.
Oh, there's a ton of different ones that I've never even seen on eBay. They got a whole set of Coca-Cola. This is one. Are you guys familiar with these Globe radios? The one with the rocket on the top.
No.
This Rice Bowl radio, that's a very expensive radio. I mean, that's $500 range. And the little owl's already at $170.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, look at the Hopalong Cassidy.
Yeah, those are sought after.
Plus, it's a 15% buyer's fee on it, plus $10 plus shipping. So,
Wow.
look at the Zebra radio, and that's crazy. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, never. Great.
Oops, I skipped one. It went to 3. There we go.
Oh, the little jukeboxes. Yeah, those are neat.
How about the bumper cars? Blue and red.
Oh.
And then the booze radios, whiskey and the rum. I think there's some Scotch, moonshine.
Yeah. Wow.
Back towards the top though, Franklin, there was a Crosley there. Wasn't that a repro?
Which one way?
Further towards the top. Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Yeah, that must have been a repro, right? The second from the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Heritage.
Oh,
flag.
Heritage, yeah, China,
Yeah, I can see it right there. It's a Crosley Heritage.
China.
Yeah. Little John.
The robots are cute.
The Transformers
Transformers, yeah.
and the California Raisin. How about the outboard motor?
Boy, somebody's really had an imagination.
And this is a
Making
Batman,
all this stuff. Wow.
Rimco Batman radio. I mean, I've seen the other ones, but Batman.
Hmm. Oh, the big shoe.
A couple space shuttle radios.
Yeah.
And they got the sexy Lindas too.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Special tuning. Wow. Just endless stuff here.
Hamburger Helper radio.
Oh,
That Tony the Tiger was at one of our auctions one time. I think Mike's wife bought it.
oh, okay.
Hey, there's a Porsche for you, Myron.
9/11.
I haven't seen a red Jaguar before. I know the blue one is pretty common. Simplex is pretty common.
Wow.
Look at the Panasonics too. They got all the colors of the R8. Those are all R8s. I've got a black one. I look at the speedometer radio, the bookshelf radio.
Well, guys, I'm gonna have to bail out now, so I'll see you next time.
All right, Robbie, thanks for coming.
Okay, see y'all later.
So somebody on Craigslist had a $10 bull of a transistor radio,
Oh, really?
and I texted her a couple of times and never got a response. But
Oh.
it's about 2 inches by 3 inches.
The little
And-
minis?
Yeah, it's tiny, and it had a little jewel on the front. But you know, she doesn't respond. I mean, $10, yeah, right?
Yeah,
This is like from '59 or something.
I've got a Mork.
It was made by Mashishita or whatever, Matsushita.
Panasonic.
But it had a weird battery, like 4.5 volts or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was a mercury battery
Oh,
in the day.
well, that's all I got to share. Anybody else got any?
Well, I got, let me see if I can share something. I haven't tried this yet. Darn it, no, I don't know how to do this. I thought I could do this. Share screen,
And broadcast.
start broadcast. 3, 2, 1, boom.
Phil?
Okay. So what's going on here?
Screen to whatever you want to show.
Yeah, I can't seem to change it. Okay, this one. You guys see that?
Yeah.
So this is a German radio. It's made by Braun. And Jay up here in Seattle told me that somebody had wanted somebody to repair it. It's a family radio. Let's see, there's one other picture right here. So it's got a record player in it. And those are the only pictures I have so far. I haven't seen it in the person yet, but I said, sure, I'll give it a crack. So that's going to be a project to restore, and it's supposedly in pretty good physical shape, but we shall see. You never know with these German sets. So it's got the typical front end with the two knobs and the piano keys, and then a record player on the top. Another German radio.
Cool. That cabinet looks awful thick. Must be heavy.
Yeah, it's going to be heavy. Have to figure out how I'm going to transport it to the workshop here.
Forklift.
Right. Okay, have I stopped? I think I've stopped.
Yep.
Hey, Pat, I can take the minutes in the next meeting. If
You can,
needed.
Don? Okay,
It's done.
all right, Don, we'll need you to be there and have your ears on and take a lot of notes.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
Okay, appreciate it. We still need someone to do the Zoom meeting. I mean, I think I know how to do it, but I really kind of want to run the meeting and have someone else, do the Zoom.
You're just gonna have to pick someone at the meeting. Here, hold the camera.
So how long does your camera, your Samsung last on, doing that? Does it suck the battery down quite a bit? Because I know you're like the first person on the Zoom meeting and you're there before the meeting, well before the meeting starts.
Yeah, it'll last 3 hours usually, 3 to 4 hours. So, but I don't start it right away. I start it when the auction starts. So.
Gotcha.
Well, anybody got any other news or anything interesting?
Well, one more thing. We were talking about the Conelrad markings. So I pulled out 4 little portable radios here. This is the one you saw before. It's got the Conelrads on it. This one also has the little triangles you can see, 64 and 1240, I think. But this one, it must be later, mid 60s, because there aren't any on there. And I was surprised this transoceanic, which I thought would be early 60s, it doesn't have them. So it must be a later 60s model. So anyway, it was very interesting to learn that they only did those between 1951 and 1963, right? And those were designated frequencies for emergency announcements if they decided to push the button. Duck and cover.
Sounds like we need it more than ever now, right? But,
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea was that all the stations would only transmit on those frequencies, so you couldn't do radio direction finding. And yeah, they would only be for emergencies or whatever, but it would be the only frequencies that were used. So since all the radios would be on the same frequency, it'd be all over the place, right? So you couldn't locate them.
Oh, you mean, so they'd be like there'd be jamming each other, in other words, huh?
Yeah, simulcast, yeah.
Yeah.
They'll all be taking down the national thing, the national feed.
Yeah,
Wow.
what a mess.
What
I
does
got-
God stand for? Anybody know
What's that?
what CONELRAD stood for?
Oh,
I'd go look it up. Yeah, because that hams used to have a monitor set so that if a broadcast came through in those frequencies, it would actually have to be able to interrupt, I think, their transmitters or something like that during that time too. Seems like there were rules and regulations in the handbooks about what you had to have for equipment and stuff. A monitor, anyway.
The Amateur Radio Handbook?
Yeah, in that era, I've got most of the handbooks, the ARO handbooks, and yeah, in that era there, they describe like a monitor that would automatically pop on, and you'd hear the transmission or whatever, and I think hams had to go silent. If that were to go off, and so that was part of the thing. You had to have a monitor so you knew to shut down your stations if there was an alert going on and stuff.
Oh, I'm looking at my collection of amateur radio handbooks, and I don't have one from that era. This one's too old. It's the Special Defense Edition, 1942. And then the next one up I have is 1964, so that wouldn't cover it.
It was showing the People's Radio.
And that was me. I succeeded.
Oh.
I had to restart Zoom, but it was interesting because it was the original box that was delivered in.
Wow, that's cool.
It was 76 rice marks, and that was the cardboard box that it came in.
oh, wow.
That was from the Radio Museum.
Oh, the picture, or
So what were those years again? You said about 56 to 61?
53.
Well, he was saying 51 to 63, but I think that might have been when CONELRAD was active, but I think it took a while to require the thing for radio manufacturers.
Here we go.
It didn't happen right away, right?
Right, effective January 2nd, 1957, the CONELRAD rules reprinted here will become part of the amateur regulations. Until that date, FCC urges, voluntary compliance with the rules. And they show a converter circuit for modern broadcast stations in connection with the communications received. Anyway, there were actual rules that you had to follow and stuff, and back in the era, a whole section. It's called Control of Electromagnetic Radiation applies to all radio stations in the amateur radio service, and for the purpose of providing for the alerting and operation of radio stations in this service during periods of air attack or imminent threat thereof. Wow.
Hide under your desk.
Yeah.
I remember that in kindergarten, we had to hide under our desks.
Yeah.
During the air raids.
And along the same lines, like the earthquake things, and they have to tell you get underneath your desk, and that's the wrong thing to do. You should get next to something that's solid, so if the roof caves in, the solid thing will hold the roof up, and you'll be in that little void next to it. You don't want to be under the things that are going to crush you. And unfortunately, they found that out the hard way in Mexico City during the big quake there, that all the kids that were smashed underneath their desk, and if they would have been next to their desks, they might have survived. So it's sometimes things aren't thought out too well.
When I was living in Kona, there was a few earthquakes. I never felt them. I was usually snorkeling.
Yeah.
PSA ARA on Sunday had what this is, and they couldn't actually figure it out. And I was wondering if you guys want to see it. So let's see. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a bell on the top of it.
Those look like old hand crank telephone.
Yeah, it's a telephone.
Is it?
It's the guts of a telephone.
So it's a bell for a telephone, you think?
Yeah, the ringer on the left. I mean, I don't know why it's mounted on a board like that, but
It's like
That's marble.
yeah, marble. Yeah, marble. Yeah.
And then it's got a metal plate under that, and then about a 3/4 of an inch piece of wood under that. They thought it might be a servant's call.
I'll show you another picture of it.
Maybe it's a demonstrator unit for telephone repairmen.
I think the marble says it's going to be in a hotel or something, right?
Or a wealthy person.
And there was a couple of handles on the side, which was kind of weird. So it looked like it was portable.
Well, they're operated with a magneto. You know, when you crank it, it builds up a charge, and then it rings the bell.
There's no crank on it though, was there?
Well, they'd hook it up to it. I think there was a place to hook wires to it, wasn't there?
There was like a battery compartment too. It looked like the size of those tall batteries, those little larger round ones, 3-inch.
Oh yeah. Well,
When I was a kid, they had those ringers that came out of the old phones, and you take them and take some wires and you put them in the creek and you shock fish so you could grab fish. It was illegal.
Poach fish, huh?
Yeah, but you shock the fish with it.
yeah, use dynamite.
My dad collected old cars, and he had a collection of magnetos from old 1920s cars in the basement. And he said, "Hey, Gary, come on over here. Put your finger right there." And then he spin the knob. Shocked the heck out of me.
You only did it once, though, right, Gary?
Only once. But then anytime my friends come over, we would do the same thing.
We had a TV technician. He used to take capacitors, charge them up, and he just leave them sitting all over the place. So like a nosy office lady would come around and pick one up, shock her crazy.
And you have an electrical fence story too, don't you, Franklin?
Oh. Yeah. There's a lot of electrical fence stories.
You didn't try to whiz on it, did you?
We used to take if the newbies came out to the berry farm, we'd always tell them, "Oh, you don't want to walk down to the outhouse. Just go pee on that fence over there." You'd hear them scream, "Ah!" But then they were useless the rest of the day, right? And then there was a horse next door too, right? So, and one of my friends was over, and she wanted to give the horse an apple. Well, I go, "Don't touch that." And then what she did is the horse came down on the apple, and she pulled her hand away and hit the fence, which shocked the horse. shocked her, shocked all, both of them. And I didn't get out, don't touch the fence in enough time. And then I was rolling on the ground because she really got shocked. And the horse reared up and then he went running around the corral. So the horse didn't want any more apples after that.
So Franklin, we have a meeting tomorrow night at 7, a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to zoom out. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bruce.
Yeah, me too. I think I'll leave. It's kind of winding down.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I gotta
Yeah,
get more
me too.
material. You guys talk too much today.
Well, I guess maybe not a lot of people had German radios.
What's the next one is British radios, right? And I think that's what the next one on the list. Oh, there you go, Gary.
That's another one I worked on once upon a time.
Why do you think they all look alike? I mean,
I know. It's like they were all made in the same company.
I know it's kind of weird. I mean, is that the way? That must have been their marketing plan, right? They just all.
They're all a little bit different inside though. Basically
Yeah.
the same layout, transformer over here, same kind of a tube complement. Some had one speaker, some had two, some had stuff on the sides.
Well, it looks like that thing in the middle got hot.
It's just paint. I think that's spray paint. Not sure why. But look at the AC cord on this thing. What a mess.
The fabric coated too.
Yeah, it is. Oh, this one had a bad antenna. Some rats got into it and chewed it up. And that's the chassis out on the bench. Upside down. A lot of fun working on that thing. But then once it's finished, it's gorgeous. Really nice sound. Anyway.
That had a lot of piano on it, didn't it? Had a lot of keys on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that one had a lot of bands. What else here? I don't see any more German ones in this list.
45 watt, huh? W45, is that what they mean? 45 watts, or is it just the model number?
Oh, yeah, that's the model number. And lots of Telefunkens. Bahatzo, the Opus 6 and the Opus 7. Oh, mostly just schematics here. Nice looking schematics. They really did a good job documenting them. Anyway, I'll stop sharing. You guys have seen enough German radios tonight, I think, right?
Good though. I just kind of wonder why they all look alike. It's kind of bizarre. It seems like that would be a bad marketing idea.
Maybe they're all made in one factory and they just sold them and distributed them different ways.
Were they expensive? I mean,
they sure look like they were built very expensively, but I guess the story is they were pretty cheap for the servicemen to bring back, from what I heard earlier.
I think the exchange rate was good for Americans, right? So that might have been part of the thing. Plus, they had a lot of free. I mean, they had a lot of money to extra money to spend, right? It was like Japan. They had a lot of money to spend. They didn't spend any money, so they could buy all kinds of stuff.
Very nicely built, nicely crafted. A lot of, effort went into the assembly, and it seems
They
like
made a lot of remakes too. I mean, a lot of repos, right? I mean, that later on looked just like that too. I know I've seen quite a few. Even they faked the Merle wood on the outside of some of them.
Right. What's odd is I've seen some smaller portable German radios from the 50s and late 50s and early, and the cases are wood, not plastic, which is very strange.
Well, one of the highly desirable Sony radios, the TR-72, it's a wood radio too. I mean, it's wood on the outside and then covering with that fake leather looking stuff. And that's highly desirable radio. I mean, that's a very expensive radio. But I guess I found out today or the other day that New Zealand actually produced them too for Sony, because I know they did for the TR-610. They produced one and they called it the Pacemaker. So Sony let New Zealand produce some radios for them, which seems kind of odd, but they did that. But yeah, they're little wood radios, so their outsides are wood. So I guess New Zealand made quite a few wood transistors, right? Because you don't often see wood transistor radios.
Right. I think even this one. The case for this thing is also, it's wood underneath this fake leather or whatever they call that coating. It's a lightweight wood box. I was surprised to find that out when I opened it up.
I know the British radios too, the Roberts, like the R200s and stuff like the little portables. They're all wood inside too, with a coating.
Well, guys, I gotta bail out as well.
All righty. Bye, guys. And everybody else is muted.
All right, I'll catch you in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna be out of town next week.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sounds good. Have a safe trip.
Too bad I'm gonna miss the big show down there in Puyallup.
I'm Zoom some, so if you're near a computer, I'll Zoom from there. So if you happen to be around near a computer.
You gonna walk around with the handset? Zoom?
Yeah, I think I will. Yeah.
Hopefully they've got some good Wi-Fi there.
Yeah, that's one thing.
All right, everybody, take care. Good night.
All right. Bye, Gary. Thanks for coming.
All right, see ya. Good night, Franklin.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, John boy.